Okay, here's the next part in John, and we're in chapter 1 to the end here from verse 45. I will pick it up with 44 and go to the end of the chapter here. So Philip, like Andrew and Peter, was from the town of Bethsaida. So here we are in the desert where Jesus was baptized, and he's calling the disciples, taking them from John's disciples, Andrew, and then finds his brother Peter. So it's not at the seashore in Galilee like it is in the other synoptics. Then Philip turns, and Philip goes in verse 45. It says, Philip found Nathanael and told him, "We have found the one whom Moses wrote about in the law, and also whom the prophets also wrote, Jesus of Nazareth, the son of Joseph." So Philip is, I always think of him as more of a young, excitable type of person. And I always think of Nathanael as being a little older and been around the block, a little more skeptical, right? And so Philip is like, hey, we found him. We found the one. And Nathanael responds in verse 46, "Nazareth, can anything good come from there?" Nathanael asked. "Come and see," said Philip. So Philip uses the same language, come and see, the same language Jesus uses when the first two disciples follow him, right? Where are you staying? Come and see. So Philip uses the same language. It's like, flows downhill. And the reason that Nathanael says, "Can anything good come out of Nazareth?" On one level, there may have been some of the kind of the elite looking down on the bumpkins from Galilee, because everything revolved around Jerusalem, where it was the big city and the elite people, the educated ones. All of those folks lived in Jerusalem or near Jerusalem. Bethsaida is near Jerusalem. And Galilee is far up in the north, and they have a different accent. People can tell where they're from. Maybe like sometimes we northerners might make fun of a southern accent in the United States. Kind of the same thing. It may be because of that, but it's also because if Nathanael knows the scriptures, he knows the one they're looking for, which is prophesied by the prophet Micah. In Micah 5, chapter 5, verse 2, it says, "You, Bethlehem, will be the one from whom the great one comes," basically. I'm paraphrasing, but Nathanael's probably referencing that the prophetic scriptures don't name, he's from Galilee, or Philip says Nazareth, right? There's nothing in the scriptures that connects Nazareth to these prophecies. So Nathanael is like, what good can come? So there's kind of a double meaning there. "Come and see," says Philip. Verse 47, when Jesus saw Nathanael approaching, he said of him, "Here is an Israelite in whom there is nothing false," or sometimes it's translated, "no deceit." And it's an interesting line. I'm never quite sure what is the deeper meaning behind that one. It feels like there should be, but commentaries reading didn't mention anything in terms of deceit. It may have something to do with comes later when Nathanael has this revelation. So we'll talk about that when we get there. But Nathanael says in verse 48, "How do you know me?" Right? Because Jesus is saying something that's revealing some inner knowledge about who Nathanael is, right away. It's very personal. Here's someone who's nothing false, right? Upstanding guy. How do you know me?" Nathanael asked. And Jesus answered, "I saw you," so there's the word to see, right? Very important in John. "I saw you while you were still under the fig tree before Philip called you." And of course, here it's also double meaning, right? It's a physical meaning, I saw you, but in John, we're always underneath too. Jesus is saying, I saw you in another way, right? In a maybe personal or spiritual or inner way. Well, there's the phone, so it can be part of this too. And that's the turning point here, as we'll see in verse 49. Nathanael declares, "Rabbi, you are the Son of God. You are the King of Israel." So this is an amazing turn, right? Nathanael goes from what good can come out of Nazareth and how'd you get to know me, to "You are the Son of God, you are the King of Israel." It's quite the 180, right? Quite the turnaround. And only because Jesus said, "I saw you." So whatever was going on under the fig tree, and the fig tree is also a Middle Eastern or an Eastern symbol for enlightenment too, much like the Bodhi tree for the Buddha. When Buddha gets enlightened under the Bodhi tree, there's a similar theme here in sort of Near East or Eastern symbolism. So Nathanael's under the fig tree, and Jesus says, I saw you." So there's a mystical part happening there, maybe related to the fact that Jesus said there's nothing false in Nathanael. Maybe this has something to do with confession or whatever. You have to use your imagination to figure out, what's going on, that there's such a dramatic turn that, this is revealed to Nathanael just because Jesus says, "I saw you." Pretty profound, right? Or pretty, I don't know what the word is, what the adjective I'm looking for is, but it's big, right? Big is a small adjective. Anyway, I'm riffing on words now. Verse 50, Jesus said, "You believe because I told you I saw you under the fig tree? You shall see greater things than that." So this is an example of the humor that we find in John. Jesus is teasing Nathanael or chiding him in a playful way. He's saying, you have such a big turnaround because I simply said I saw you. You will see greater things than these. So Jesus is just leading him into more, right? But he's also teasing him a little bit, so it's kind of fun. There's a lot of things like that where John is having fun, or Jesus is having fun with the people he's talking to. In verse 51, he added, "I tell you the truth, you shall see heaven open and the angels of God ascending and descending on the Son of Man." And this is a reference to Jacob's dream, when Jacob has what's often referred to as Jacob's ladder. When Jacob in Genesis, that Jacob, runs away from the family and his brother because he's stolen everything from Esau, and he's stolen the birthright, he's stolen the blessing. He's afraid Esau's going to kill him. He runs away and kind of spends a night outside, and it says he puts his head on a stone. I can't remember the exact chapter and verse in Genesis, but it's Jacob's dream, right? And so the angels, in his dream, the angels ascend and descend upon Jacob, and Jesus is referencing that kind of Abrahamic blessing that comes from Abraham and Isaac and then to Jacob, and this spiritual revelation where there's this heaven to earth kind of connection here. So it's in the Jacob story, and here Jesus is kind of claiming it. You will see this happening to the Son of Man. And Jesus refers to himself in that way, calling himself the Son of Man. So you have the Son of God and the Son of Man, which are both titles for this one who is, chosen by God to do something, to be a Messiah or whatever, right? But these titles are used that way, both kind of interchangeably: Son of God, Son of Man. One of my favorite stories, I think, the Nathanael, just the way he's so skeptical in the beginning, and he has this big turn, and then witnesses to the fact that he's the one. So great ending here in John's Gospel with Nathanael. Big start to John chapter 1, and a nice ending, which is much more sort of personal, but also very cosmic and big as well. So that's chapter 1, and we'll move on to chapter 2. Thank you.